I want you to think back, like way back to when you were a little kid.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you're, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. And you're sitting at a tiny plastic table. You've got a crayon gripped in your fist, and you just drag it across a piece of paper to draw a circle.
Just completely in the zone.
Exactly.
Hmm.
You put two smaller, slightly wobbly circles inside of it, and boom, it's a face.
Right.
There's no nose, there's no mouth, there are definitely no ears or eyebrows, but it fundamentally doesn't matter, right?
No, not
Because to you, in that exact pure moment, it is perfectly, completely enough. You are just feeling something internal and, you're putting it on the paper.
Exactly. It's pure expression. And the beauty of that moment is that there's absolutely no self-judgment yet.
Yeah.
Like there is no inner critic sitting on your shoulder whispering that the eyes are asymmetrical or that you messed up the perspective.
Right. But then inevitably someone walks by.
The dreaded observer.
Yes. Maybe it's a well-meaning teacher. Maybe it's an older sibling or a parent. They look over your shoulder at this masterpiece you've just created and they say, "Oh, that's nice. But where's the nose?"
Ouch. Yeah.
And just like that, the entire universe shifts. The game completely changes. Because in that split second, you realize there is an external standard.
You realize you were being measured.
Exactly. So you try to add the nose, then you start looking over at the kids sitting next to you, comparing your drawing to theirs.
Which is where it all goes wrong.
It is. And in that tiny, almost invisible moment of comparison, you probably made a quiet, devastating decision that stayed with you for decades. You just thought, I can't draw.
Which is such a profound tragedy, really. Because when we make that decision, what we're actually doing is walking away from one of our most fundamental ancient human languages.
Wow.
We just quietly box it up and hand it over to the quote-unquote talented people,
That-
as if expression is some exclusive club we just, didn't get invited to.
But what if that wasn't a lack of talent at all? What if you were just never handed the right tools to understand what you were doing?
That's the real question.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at a truly fascinating book called Out of Art: Reclaiming Expression Through Structural Drawing by In-Young Song.
It's a fantastic read.
It really is. We are going to fundamentally dismantle the myth of natural talent today. We're exploring how and why so many of us lost our ability to express ourselves visually, and how a remarkably practical framework can help you reclaim that lost language.
Right, because the core premise here, the thing that really shifts your perspective, is that giving up on drawing has absolutely nothing to do with a lack of innate magical ability.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. If we connect this to the bigger picture of how we learn literally anything else, the issue is purely a lack of method. The author makes this brilliant comparison to music.
Oh, I love the music analogy.
Right. Think about a piano. A piano comes with sheet music. Even if you are an absolute beginner, even if you have never touched a keyboard in your life, you have a score to guide you.
Right. You have the notes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know that if you strike this key, you get a C. If you strike that one, you get an F. You can sit down, follow the notes, and systematically find your way through the piece.
Yeah.
But when it comes to drawing, almost no one is ever taught the visual score.
No, we're just handed a blank piece of paper, a pencil, and we're told, draw what you see.
Which is terrible advice.
Right, which, according to the research in this book, is actually the source of the entire problem, because we are fundamentally incapable of just drawing what we see.
Right. We don't draw what we see, we draw what we think. Or, I guess more accurately, we draw what we remember about an object.
Okay, wait, explain that a bit more.
Sure. Think about what happens when you sit down to draw a standard coffee cup. Your eyes might be looking right at the cup sitting on the table in front of you,
Yeah.
but your brain is essentially hijacking your hand. Your brain is arrogant. It says, look, I already know what a cup is. I've seen 10,000 cups. It's a manufactured cylinder. It's open at the top. It's closed at the bottom, and it has a handle.
So it just feeds you a generic idea.
Yes. So your hand ends up drawing your generic memory of a cup, not the specific, unique object bathed in light and shadow sitting right in front of you. And because of that disconnect, the result always looks slightly off.
And because it looks off, we blame our hands. We blame our lack of a mystical gift. We say, my hand won't do what my brain wants.
Right, which is just so unfair to ourselves.
It is. But the reality is, to write your own song, you need to understand the musical notes first. You need an operating platform for your mind to work from.
Exactly.
To draw your own thoughts, you have to understand what the author calls the engineering phase of visual language. You have to learn the notes.
Exactly. And engineering a drawing requires a massive shift in how we process the world. It breaks down into 3 fluid but distinct phases before you even worry about expressing yourself.
Okay, let's break those down.
First, there's objectification. This is what we just touched on, objectively classifying the thing in front of you. Recognizing that a cup isn't just a cup, structurally. It is a cylinder made to hold liquid.
Right.
Second is observation. And observation here isn't just staring really hard at the cup. It's actively reading the structure of the object so you can plan how to build it on the paper.
Okay, wait, I have to push back a little here.
Go for it.
Am I supposed to sit down and categorize my coffee mug like a scientist before I even pick up a pencil? That sounds a little, clinical, doesn't it?
It does sound that way, yeah.
Like, if art is supposed to be about feeling and expression, doesn't turning it into an engineering problem kind of kill the creativity?
It's a very fair question. It feels counterintuitive at first, but think about one of the most famous pieces of modern art in the world. Andy Warhol's Campbell's soup cans.
Oh, right. Okay.
The form itself, a soup can, is completely ordinary. It's a mass-produced, highly structured, easily categorized, manufactured object. It's a literal cylinder.
Yeah, nothing crazy there.
Right. But because Warhol perfectly understood that objective structure, he could move to the third phase of this process, which is abstraction.
Oh, I see.
He could take that rigid, understood structure and pour an entirely new meaning into it. He filled that ordinary cylinder with his own abstraction about consumer culture, mass production, and, the dissolving line between fine art and everyday life.
Wow.
The physical form stayed exactly the same, but the meaning became entirely his own. So structure isn't the enemy of creativity, it's the required container for it.
Okay, I see where this is going. It's like learning grammar.
Yes, exactly.
When you're in elementary school, you spend years learning the letters, the vocabulary, the boring sentence structures. Someone telling you that a noun is a person, place, or thing isn't trying to stop you from writing a beautiful, heartbreaking novel later in life.
Wait, they're not stifling you.
They're just giving you the bricks to build the house. Learning verbs and nouns doesn't destroy your ability to be creative.
Yeah.
It actually ensures that you never lose the option to write a poem later.
That is a perfect analogy. You're engineering the foundation. Objectifying a coffee cup as a cylinder is just finding your visual nouns.
So if we accept that we need these visual nouns, what are the actual letters of this visual alphabet? Like, how do we physically engineer a drawing without defaulting to our brain's sloppy memories?
Well, the book outlines a very specific, repeatable methodology for structural drawing, and it's entirely designed to override that brain hijacking we talked about.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's walk through building that coffee cup.
Yeah.
The very first thing you have to do is establish proportion. You don't draw a curve, you don't draw the rim. You just look at the object and find the ratio of its height to its width.
Okay.
Let's say it's 1 to 1.5. You establish that mathematical reality first.
Which is exactly where I would mess up. My instinct would be to just freehand the oval at the top right away and hope for the best.
Most people do, which is why the author insists that once you have that 1 to 1.5 proportion, you must draw a rigid rectangular box that perfectly matches that ratio.
Just a straight-up box.
Just a box. Now, people often resist this. They feel like drawing a box first is restrictive, like they're putting their drawing in a cage.
Right, it feels too rigid.
But the book frames this beautifully. That box is your minimum safe space. It is a protective container that holds everything in place while you work.
A safe space. I like that.
Because, think about it, without the box, if something goes wrong in your drawing, you have absolutely nothing to check it against. You're just guessing in the void.
Right. If the cup looks lopsided, you don't know if the top is too wide or the bottom is too narrow. You just know it's bad.
Exactly. So you have your safe space. From there, you recognize that most manufactured objects are symmetrical. So you drop a vertical center line right down the middle of your box.
Okay, making sense.
Now your safe space is perfectly equally divided. Only then do you move to form. You draw an ellipse inside a rectangle at the top for the rim, another ellipse at the bottom for the base, and you connect the lines down the sides. Boom. You've engineered a perfectly structured cup.
And what's brilliant is that this logic scales to anything. Like if you want to draw a wine glass, you do the exact same thing.
Exactly the same.
You might look at it and find the proportion is, 1 to 4. So you draw a tall, narrow box. You drop your center line. You find where the bowl ends and the stem begins, and you divide your box horizontally.
Yep.
You build the bowl with ellipses, you build the base with an ellipse, and connect them. It is a logical, repeatable sequence.
And here is where we hit the real magic of this engineering phase. It completely alters your psychology.
How so?
The book brings in the work of the famous psychologist Lev Vygotsky, specifically his concept of the zone of proximal development.
Okay, let's unpack that because it sounds a bit dense. What does that actually mean for the person holding the pencil?
Vygotsky's theory is essentially about the space between what a learner can do independently and what they can do with the guidance of a skilled teacher. Usually when we learn to draw, we are entirely dependent on that teacher hovering over our shoulder, pointing out where we went wrong. That dependency creates anxiety. It creates the fear of the external standard, the where's the nose trauma.
Yes, the hovering teacher is terrifying.
Right. But by using this sequence proportion, box, symmetry, centerline, former, the system itself replaces the teacher. You become your own guide.
Oh, wow.
If your drawing of a cup looks wrong now, you don't have to throw your hands up, feel a wave of shame, and declare that you lack talent. You can literally just look at the structure and say, my centerline is crooked, or my initial proportion was 1:2 instead of 1:1.5.
You can spot your own mistake and fix it entirely on your own, which completely eliminates the terror of the blank page.
Exactly.
You aren't guessing anymore. You have a system that protects you from your own harsh self-judgment.
Precisely. You've engineered a successful drawing.
Yeah.
But as the book points out, this leads to a fascinating new problem.
Ooh, what's the new problem?
Once the fear of the blank page is gone, and you can draw a cup or a wine glass structurally perfectly every single time,
Yeah.
well, the question shifts. You stop asking, how do I draw this? And you are suddenly forced to ask, what do I actually want to say?
And that is the profound pivot of the book. We move from phase 1, engineering, into phase 2, expression.
Yes.
Because technical skill alone just makes you a rigid technician. We all know people who can draw a hyper-realistic eye or a perfectly rendered sports car, but if you ask them to draw a concept or a feeling, they totally freeze.
They have nothing to say.
Right. Their technical skill hasn't expanded their thinking. We have to figure out how to connect that objective, structural tool set to our messy, internal, subjective emotions.
And we shouldn't underestimate how vital that emotional connection is. The author points to neuroscientists like Antonio Damasio and Mary Helen Immordino Yang, who have completely revolutionized how we understand the brain.
Oh, they're brilliant.
They've shown that emotion isn't just some distracting byproduct of thinking. It's not a cloud that gets in the way of logic. Emotion is the actual biological foundation of learning and decision-making itself.
Right. Without emotion, we quite literally don't know what is important enough to pay attention to.
Exactly. So drawing, when taught correctly, trains two distinct muscles simultaneously. The cognitive ability to see the physical world objectively through structure, and the metacognitive ability to understand your own subjective feelings.
But feelings are nebulous. They're chaotic. So how do we systematically access them without getting overwhelmed?
Well, this is where the book introduces the 5F way. It's a framework designed to guide you from a vague feeling all the way to a finished piece of expression.
The 5Fs. Okay.
Yeah. They are feel, find, form, frame, and flow.
It's an incredibly powerful sequence.
It really is. The entry point is always feel. This is just raw sensation. It's admitting what you are actually feeling in your body before you even know why. Just recognizing, I'm anxious, or I'm exhausted.
But you can't just draw a vague cloud of anxiety.
No, which is why the immediate next challenge is find. You have to interrogate that sensation and trace it back to its source. Why do I feel this way? Where is it coming from? What is the root?
Then you move to form. This is where visualization happens. What does this root cause actually look like? What scene or object or symbol accurately holds this specific feeling?
From there, you go to frame. This is the stubborn handwork.
The actual drawing part.
Yes. This is where you actually use your structural drawing skills. You are choosing the medium, deciding on the composition, physically making the thing, putting the lines on paper.
And finally, flow. You step back, look at what you've created, and reflect on what it's saying back to you.
Exactly.
And that reflection naturally flows right into the next cycle of feeling. It essentially acts as an emotional diagnostic tool.
It absolutely does.
Instead of just walking around feeling vaguely bad all week, you have a structured pathway to unpack the exact specific flavor of that bad, and then you turn it into something tangible outside of your own head.
To really understand how transformative this is, we should look at the examples the author provides of her actual students.
Yes, the story of Joanne is incredible. Joanne is an older student who went through this 5F way, and her journey is a perfect illustration.
It really is.
During the fine stage where she was interrogating her feelings, she started to look deeply inward at her own identity as a Korean immigrant.
What she realized during that interrogation phase was profound. She realized how deeply traditional Korean gendered social structures had quietly followed her into her American life.
Wow.
They were like invisible walls, silently shaping what she felt permitted to do, what she was allowed to say, and how much space she was allowed to take up.
And as she unpacked that invisible structure, her art completely transformed. She couldn't just paint pretty pictures on a canvas anymore.
No, the frame had to change.
Right. She needed a completely different frame to hold that massive realization. She moved into installation art and photography, physically expressing the tension between her internal desires and these external cultural expectations.
It was a complete metacognitive breakthrough.
Hmm.
And then there's Lindsay. Lindsay's story is something I think almost everyone listening can relate to, especially in today's culture.
Definitely. Lindsay was an 8th grader, and her feel stage started with just pure, grinding, bone-deep exhaustion. Her only thought was essentially, I just want to sleep forever.
We've all been there.
Oh, for sure.
But instead of just taking a nap, she used the fine stage to trace that exhaustion back to its source. And the source was crushing, suffocating academic pressure, the weight of expectations.
Yeah.
So for her form stage, she visualized a figure completely bent over, buried under a massive mountain of heavy textbooks.
And here's where Lindsay's story crashes headfirst into the giant elephant in the room for this entire deep dive.
Yes, the AI question.
Exactly. Because when it came time to actually create the image, Lindsay tried using artificial intelligence. She tried to have an AI image generator build her vision of burnout.
Which brings up the massive, unavoidable anxiety of our era. If we are talking about visual expression, if a machine can instantly render our thoughts in high definition in 3 seconds, why on earth should we go through this painstaking physical process of drawing a box, finding a center line, and wrestling with our emotions?
We've moved from phase 2 expression to phase 3 of the book expansion. We have to figure out how to place this newly reclaimed human language into the context of modern technology.
It's a crucial debate. But if we look at the timeline of our history, history proves that tools don't just change how art looks, they fundamentally change how we think.
Right.
Think about the invention of the camera. It objectified vision. It gave us a totally new way of capturing reality, which freed painters up to invent Impressionism and Cubism.
Or think about installation art. The book mentions the artist Lee Bull, who famously displayed decaying fish covered in sequins in a gallery.
A visceral, wild image to imagine.
Very wild.
But that expanded art into the realms of smell, of real-time decay, of a full-body spatial experience. Art wasn't just a flat image you looked at on a wall anymore. It was an environment you inhabited.
Exactly.
AI is simply the next tool in that long historical lineage. But there is a crucial fundamental difference between AI and previous tools. An AI can receive a text prompt and generate a stunning photorealistic image, but the AI doesn't know what it feels.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Sure.
If AI is just a tool, exactly like a camera, isn't typing a text prompt into an AI image generator the exact same thing as pressing the shutter button on a DSLR camera? You are setting the parameters, you are adjusting the lighting in the prompt, you're making the creative choice of what to capture. How is it different?
It's a great question, and this is where we have to clarify the boundary of authorship. If you hand the direction completely over to the AI, if you just say, draw a sad student, you are getting the AI's language.
Which is what exactly?
You are getting a mathematically generic average of its training data. It's a cliche. But if you hold the direction yourself, if you know your why deeply, because you've gone through that intense 5F way, then AI doesn't replace your language, it strengthens it. And this perfectly explains what happened with Lindsay and her burnout sketch.
Yes. Let's go back to Lindsay. So she took her rough sketch of the figure buried under the textbooks and she ran it through an AI tool to help her visualize it better.
Right.
But the result the AI gave her, well, she completely rejected it. She hated it.
Because it was too clean.
It was way too polished. The AI generated a very nice image of heavy books, sure, but the AI didn't know the actual suffocating weight of those books. It didn't know what that pressure physically feels like in your chest when you're 13 years old and terrified of failing.
Exactly. The AI lacked the human truth of the experience. So what did Lindsay do? She didn't let the AI have the final say. She used the AI image strictly as a compositional reference, but she used her own hands to actually draw the heavy textbooks herself. And she wrote the word burnout at the bottom of the page in raw, jagged red letters.
The book calls this the stubborn hand. And I absolutely love that phrase. It's insisting on your own humanity in the process.
It's so vital.
AI can absolutely support your technique. It can help you arrange the composition, but the stubborn human hand is required to form the actual meaning.
And this brings us to the ultimate philosophy of the book. The author calls this system an operating platform, specifically the Out-of-Art Personal Operating Platform, or OOAPOP.
It's a quirky acronym, but it perfectly sums up why this is so important.
It really does, because the ultimate goal of all of this, the structural boxes, the center lines, the 5F emotional deep dives, the stubborn hand is not necessarily to turn you into a professional fine artist hanging in a gallery.
Right, that's not the point for most people.
Exactly. The book explicitly mentions students who went through this exact program and then went on to study business or engineering or medicine. The goal is to use art as a learnable language to organize your own mind. It's a platform to operate your life from.
It builds deep internal adaptability. In a modern world where AI can instantly generate any answer you want, knowing what questions to ask and deeply understanding why you feel the way you do is the ultimate human advantage.
If we zoom out and look at the journey we've taken today, it's pretty remarkable. We started by decoding the hidden score of drawing,
Yeah, the visual alphabet.
by breaking the visual world down into objective structures, proportion, the box, symmetry, centerline, and form. We realized we can bypass the paralyzing myth of natural talent entirely. We can engineer a drawing just like we engineer a sentence.
And once we built that foundation, we moved from engineering to expression. We used the 5F way feel, find, form, frame, flow to systematically map our messy inner emotional landscapes.
Right.
We stopped asking, how do I draw this object? And started asking, what do I desperately need to say?
And finally, we discovered why that stubborn human hand is more vital right now than ever before in history. An AI can execute a prompt brilliantly, but only a human being can trace an emotion back to its deepest source, feel the weight of it, and decide exactly how it needs to be framed for the world to see.
And for you listening right now, the relevance of this is so profound. I want you to remember that your desire to express yourself didn't just vanish when you stopped drawing at 5 years old.
It definitely didn't.
You didn't magically stop feeling complex things just because someone made you feel bad about how you drew a nose. That desire to be understood just found other ways out. Sometimes it manages to come out through your words or the music you listen to, but very often it comes out through the long, heavy silence of things left unsaid.
Wow.
You now have a framework to break that silence.
You have the grammar to write your own visual poetry.
So we want to leave you with a final provocative thought, an actual exercise you can do on your own the second this deep dive ends. Think of a word or a feeling that has been quietly bothering you lately.
Maybe it's a low-level anxiety about work, a frustration with a friend, or even a lingering, unexplainable hope.
Exactly. But do not write about it. Do not try to journal it away.
Instead, take a piece of scrap paper and a pencil. Don't try to draw a masterpiece. Just draw a simple, rigid box, your minimum safe space.
Just a box.
Look at that empty box and ask yourself, what proportion is this feeling? Is it tall and narrow? Is it wide and heavy? Is it symmetrical? Does it fit neatly inside this safe space? Or is it violently spilling out over the edges?
See what shape your mind maps out when your words fail you. Because long before anyone ever leaned over your shoulder and asked you where the nose was, you already knew exactly how to make your feelings visible. You just have to be willing to pick up the pencil again.